So Bridgeport is a deployment managed tool. It's a place where engineering teams or individuals can manage their containers, their database backups, and their config files. And it can also do health monitoring. It's self-hosted, it's lightweight, and as of now, it's open source as well. Bridgeport is a tool that I wish I had 7-8 years ago. I spent long enough working in infrastructure and DevOps to know that most of the pains that teams feel and problems don't arise by the complexity of problems. They arise by the lack of tooling and precise and shared configurations. Bridgeport is my answer to that. It's built inside a real company, solving real problems, and now it's available for anyone that has the same issue.
So indeed, Bridging focusing on helping companies navigate bureaucracy, but we always looked at this problem from a technology lens. Actually, my background is in computer science, and so the frustration with bureaucracy is that a lot of it is manual, right? So since inception, really, we knew that we needed to develop technology to make some of this path automated and predictable. And this is just one piece of our tooling that we happen to decide to make it public, available for free, open source, so that others can use it as well.
I was debugging a tricky configuration issue that involved adding the multiple configuration files across servers and then restarting multiple services and containers, and then check for their health status. And I was even doing this against our cloud providers interface and then in our secret manager. So I thought there's got to be a better way. So I decided to centralize all this information in one place where I could change the configuration, deploy it to all servers, restart all the servers, and check and monitor the health status all in one place.
So Bridgeport is a development platform really to manage deployment actually and management, everything around, containers and typically what we discuss in terms of infrastructure and, very much associated with DevOps. And we build it because we need it, as simple as that. We have obviously a lot of different systems that we have been developing and need to deploy that. We need to make sure that we have backups, we have policies, we have configuration management, and we have all of that done. And in this case, we decided to build it and now to make it available for anyone to use it.
So all those years means that I've seen what breaks, and I've seen it break in every single possible configuration, almost. And Bridgeport isn't theoretical. It comes from real problems that I've either lived through or seen other teams live through and suffer from it. And I also learned from brilliant people, and not just the theoretical best practices, but actually what works in the real world.
We want to be a tech company, not just a company that is technology. In fact, we are also a company that is not only technology, because we aggregate, the use of technology to address bureaucracy, but we do have the domain experts, we do have accountants, we do have lawyers. In this particular case, open source in this area, we felt that although it is an important part of our work here to make sure obviously that all environments and the management of the different infrastructure aspects is quite important, is not exactly the core expertise that we've been working on. And so we decided that would be a very good candidate to potentially open source, and we could. I think the opportunity to open something that can be used by others, that there's really no proprietary information. Yes, arguably we would try to sell this, but it's really not our mission. Again, the mission of Bridging is to mitigate and address bureaucracy, not to be sell tools for managing infrastructure. So we decided that just open source it was, a pretty good risk-free option.
When you're helping companies across multiple countries and continents, your infrastructure gets spread out. It's distributed across different servers, regions, environments, sometimes even different cloud providers. And so there was nothing out there simple enough to handle all this complexity without adding even further problems. So I built what we needed, and just what we needed.
We obviously focus on international companies. One of the things that we've been concerning lately is the governance of data. We essentially focus now on Portugal, Spain, Italy, so European Union. But the management of infrastructure and the ability to manage the backups is quite relevant also as we plan in the next few years to expand abroad outside of Europe. Because data sovereignty is a really hot topic, and so this already gets into that discussion, and we are preparing to be able to guarantee that private data stays where we should, and we avoid transferring it from one data region to the other and having a tool that will enable us to do that more easily is also very good.
So by design, the philosophy was quite simple. It needs to be useful on day one without requiring a PhD to set it up. I wasn't trying to replace Kubernetes, Docker Swarm, or anything similar. I just wanted something that the small team would self-host, manage, and trust. And everything that made it more complex was just left out. And it's also set up in a way that you can start really small and just grow the complexity as you need it and not just to deal with it from day one. It was freeing in some ways and challenging in others. And on one side, there was no committee, no roadmap by consensus. But on the other one, you're building alongside everything else. So your attention gets spread over multiple issues. And that forces you to be ruthless and very pragmatic about what makes the cut. And in the end, every feature had to earn its place.
Being public is actually quite noble. I won't say necessarily that we've been building a lot public. Actually, maybe we've been so busy building that we haven't taken the time to share a lot of things in public, but we did share a few. And I think where we're being most vocal as an organization has been a lot on different paths to build something. And as Bridging, as a startup, we've been, fairly vocal about the fact that we are strapped, that we are comfortable. And then because it's a different narrative from what's done sometimes here, I think it is important to share. In this particular case, it's a completely different understanding of what it is building. All is to share some of the code that we use for our platforms. But I think it's also important, right? Things that we can attribute that obviously doesn't have any direct financial impact or create any leakage of proprietary information. There's no reason why we can't make it public, make it available, and hopefully help other entrepreneurs not only follow the example but also share their own information. And I do believe in collaboration, so I think that's a great way to learn from each other and keep moving forward.
A community that's genuinely thriving. Use cases that anticipate security fixes for things that I never thought of. It was when I described it to a friend of mine, which is also a software engineer, and he said, but I have exactly the same problem. I have no tool to fix it. That's the moment it stopped being just a bridging internal tool, and it became something more real, something that I thought needed and would benefit to share with other people. The problems Bridgeport solves aren't unique to us. They're universal across the tech industry. And the best way to make something better is to put it out there, and everyone will drive it in directions that you might not even think of. And open source is not giving it away. It's an investment in the same community that has built pretty much everything that I've used in my career.
They say that there are free lunches. We are also not naive, but we do want, again, like I said, making this project open source and free doesn't really affect our core business where we actually make money and supporting the customers. So I think there's really no big downside, but there's potentially some plus. I think first is collaboration, right? A lot of interesting projects in the internet, the software, our collaborations are open source. So this is our small contribution to that. The other side of that is also a pure approach of being able to track the best. Every company needs to get the best talent, wants to get the best talent. This is also a way to showcase the type of work we do so that potentially new team members on the technical side here, I guess, could feel the urge and want to join us and join Bridging. So I think the main thing tech leaders and founders can take from this is really the example, right? So instead of building privately or not want to share anything, I'm sure every business has been building something that might not be necessarily what they monetize and they can contribute. It is true that sometimes, particularly the usage of AI, want to close themselves in their own private spaces and not share information on there, but I do believe that collaboration is important and there's no reason why we can't. And so hopefully if this just triggers any founder or tech leader out there to first be incentivized to collaborate, and second, maybe to collaborate on this particular project and take it as their own and add features, evolve, use it, that would be great. I would be very happy to see adoption and see other companies seeing this, finding helpful and adopting on their own infrastructures.
And most of all, engineering teams that sleep better at night because their infrastructure is no longer a black box. Code scrutiny is real. You're exposing yourself and the decisions that you made under pressure at speed. And there's always a bit of imposter syndrome that comes back in. But what I'm more nervous is about staying focused. And when the community starts contributing, you can get pulled in multiple different directions, and keeping the product focus on its core purpose, that's probably the hardest thing. So on day one, they host it, they connect to their environments, configure their containers. And for the first time, they're able to see everything in a single place. By the end of the week, they're deploying new versions of their apps with a single click and getting alerts when something goes wrong instead of finding out when the customer complains about it.
This is a very exciting year for Bridge. We will be seeing make available a solution to address the bureaucracy, specifically help companies and entrepreneurs deal with things like payroll, accounting, legal, and tax, and to be able to have a self-service platform that they can use to really address all of these topics. We have been obviously doing this. We've been focusing so far in a lot of international companies, some of them a little bit bigger, so really focus on more complex setups that do require also more specialized services. And we are very excited that we took all of those learnings, all of that knowledge and all of those processes, and now can have a solution, technology solution, a SaaS platform that can be available for others to manage their own business. So a lot of things to do, obviously a lot of learnings. I'm sure we'll have users that love it, some that like a little bit less. Obviously, as they say, no plan survives the content in the market. So it will be a great year of a lot of learning. And I guess success here one year will be to see massive adoption, to see entrepreneurs freer to pursue their business goals without feeling the weight of bureaucracy, the paper that needs to be signed, the tax they don't understand. Be able to leverage our platform, our tools to, get ahead in business and be successful themselves.